Alright. Worms 3 ways. Got my core with the slightly chewed up taupe, courtesy of my Belgian Melnois. Annoying. There's culprit. And then I have another tote. I went ahead and used the 1/4 drill bit to drill some air holes around the side, all the way around each side. Yep. Got my worms, Amazon. I've got them from here before. Check your local places first. To me, it's kind of expensive. And then this is for indoors. We got the 3 bucket method. Alright. 3 buckets. 3 buckets. There we go. Holes at the top of each one for airflow. And the bottom, no holes. The other 2 have holes at the bottom. We'll come back to that. And then I have another soil with some grit and a little bit of the other soil. Alright. Nope. Yes, we got paper, non-bleached, no dyes really. Alright, so this is what I'm going to do. It's going to be controversial. I haven't had any issues with this and my other ones, but what I'm gonna do is use this paper. I'm gonna put a bottom layer on here. Now this is not that super plasticky paper, this is straight up just that paper. There is ink on here. If you don't want to use it with ink, don't. I hate wasting. I have tons of it everywhere. Might as well use it. I can see people saying they don't want to use it with this much ink, but again, I haven't seen any issues with it. So why not use it? I use it for barbecuing, so I have plethora. And I also have my Amazon paper, as you saw, which I should use for this. And maybe I'll use this for my barbecuing. Oh well. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is add some of this pre-soil I had. It's gritty, it's dry. You don't want it to be just the core. In fact, why not replicate a little bit of what they're going to be living in, within the soil. But I do want it to have core. They can eat the core. It should really help with that worm casting, so it'll hold some moisture. But you don't want it to be all gumpy, so you need something with grit like this. So I'm going to add a decent amount of this. And this is a soil I made and extra stuff. I'm just going to spread it up. Get a good amount of this. Let's make it easier on myself with a shovel. And I'm using a tote this big. You want it to be deep. For me, I'm in this desert heat of Las Vegas, so I want them to be able to have, like if it's a small little tote, these things are gonna cook. So you want to have it semi-deep. If you get something bigger, use that. Use what you have. I wouldn't say go out and buy a bunch of stuff. Majority of this is all stuff I have around my house. And now I'm gonna start mixing in the core. I am going to make it so it's mostly core, but I would say 1:3 ratio, mostly being core. Alright, miracle time. And as you can see, it's not super wet. Maybe like a towel that you just wring out. You want it to be not dry, but a little bit of not overly watery either. Like I said, a wringed out towel. And this is gonna go great for my trees, help fertilizing everything. Like, why pay $20 for every 20 quarts of that royal gold? You could just, if you already have a garden going, start doing stuff yourself. Don't need that. I'm very big on making sure that nothing goes to waste and everything's in cycle. Like with everything that's negative, I can use it for something positive. Alright, got this pretty mixed up. Get rid of all this junk. Now what I'm going to do is start adding some of that non-bleached paper. I save it from Amazon bags. Like I said, I save everything. It could be useful. Just tear it up. You know, this sort of paper, cardboards, it's going to absorb some of that liquid. It also is going to absorb some of that smell. You want your browns, your greens, different types of material in here. You know, I use a lot of stuff like this. My Amazon boxes, I use those for things like try not to let anything go to waste. This is gardening because of nature, right? Okay, and now I'm gonna put some more core on top and mix it all together. Get it to the level that I want. Alright, now let's give it a mix. Alright, number 2, buckets. Small holes at the bottom. Again, I'm using 1/4 pretty much on all of these. This is going to allow the worms to crawl up from each bucket. You just want to do that on 2 of them. Got the air holes each side. Right? You dig it? Alright. Bucket number 2 also has air holes at the top. And there's nothing, well, I guess it's bucket number 1. This one goes on the bottom. You put 2 identical basically. Like I said, holes at the bottom. Takes a little bit of time. And then you want to get some burlap or something. And this is where the worms are going to go, as well as the soil I just made. Alright, got this. I'm gonna add a little bit more paper on this one. If you do it the way that I'm doing it, you're not gonna have any smells. You can have this indoors, no one will even know. So we're just gonna mix this up. Alright, I was gonna give it the clap. And for number 3, I have a bunch of these from the dollar store. Use what you got. You can also see I got a coffee creamer container thing. But yeah, I got these from the Dollar Tree. It has a lid, and this is going to go into each one of my pots, or it could be the ground, or whatever way you want to do it. You just basically want to contain your scraps. This is a coffee creamer thing. Yeah, it has a lid. It can hold matter. But with these, we're going to drill holes in the bottom. Now this isn't science. Whoop. This isn't rocket science. This is just holding matter and giving the reds a little bit of space to live in if they want to stay here, or they can go throughout the rest of the container. I'm going to put holes on each side randomly, as well as the bottom. Like if it breaks at the bottom, it's not the end of the world. It's still going to be able to hold what you need it to hold. Alright, this is what this one looks like. Holes they can crawl in and out of, bottom and top. Got some bigger holes, cracks, doesn't matter. This is literally just holding the matter that I put in here. Do it the way you want to. Got some cilantro. But you get the idea, right? Have fun. Alright, so digging holes. This is where that container is gonna live. I want a little bit of a buffer on the side, so I'm going to put some soil on the side. I don't want it to go right against the container, but just want it to stick out a little bit. I want those holes to be covered though, so I'm just going to dig a little bit more. Voila. And then what I'm going to do is put some of this back in the bottom. I don't want it to be straight up matter decomposing. I want to have a little bit, just basically like the tote or the buckets. You want to have a little bit of all. These also work great. I had some lying around. It's hollow. It drills really easy. It's more sturdy. So if you have these, might as well use them. You can get these from your big box stores. And I'm gonna lasagna this. Remember, core's edible as well. I'm gonna use scraps that I got around, leaves, grass, twigs, whatever I have that's around that's alive that they can eat. And I also have this bucket of scraps. We got eggs, scraps from the house. You don't want to use anything too spicy, things like garlics, jalapenos, onions, nothing spicy. And we're just going to kind of rinse and repeat for each of the trees. I also heard that citrus is bad for them, so do what you will. I try to avoid it. I haven't had any issues, but I've never used it. Again, I'm using stuff around the garden. Stuff that I don't want to go to seed, I had to cut down, like the cilantro. You're just using what you have, right? Like, the only thing I really purchased in this scenario was the worms, but cycle everything. Want everything to benefit something else. I had some of this salad stuff and some other things that started to go bad in the refrigerator, like it always does when you buy it. So chopping it up, and they're gonna get some fresh greens as well. Alright, and we're just gonna top it off. Worms like it dark, and this is gonna sort of compress it a little bit, but like I said, it's good to mix it anyway. Alright, on to the fun part. Let's add some of these worms. Alright. Crack this bad boy open. Can you see that? Probably not. Let's see. How about that? And these worms aren't super large, but they're decent. I've gotten these once before with some other ones, and they were kind of they were a lot smaller than this. But look at that. I know it's gross, but so in this one is gonna get the majority of them. Really, on each tree, maybe 10. Like I said, each tree doesn't really need much. You don't want too many. Key to a lot of these is this stuff, the burlap. It's gonna block light, absorb some moisture, keep things damp, keep things from getting in here. with these holes, flies can come in here, maggots, beetles lay stuff. You don't want that to happen. And also tampers the smell as well. And it's fairly cheap. It's breathable. I find that this works the best. Just want to cover that as much as you can. And just top that guy off. Let's get this moved. Burlap works really well for those ones that don't have lids. Just get a thicker piece, get it covered up. Look, and it blends in. Keep it secret, keep it safe. Alright, got more scraps here. Got some chunky stuff, got some lettuce, broccoli. You don't want it to all be leaves and grains. Get a nice mixture. Alright, so the idea, and this is true for each one of them, you want to have stuff on one side, so then crawl back and forth. With this one, maybe not, depending on how much you want to change each of these buckets, but I like the one side method, so I'm just going to put enough in here. I don't want to put too much. What I would suggest is checking it weekly, if this is an indoor one anyway. The outdoors, maybe not so much. And then based on how much is left after the week, you can adjust. Do you want more worms? Do you want more filling? Put down the scraps, put the worms over the scraps, and now we're just going to give it a nice mist. Just want it to be a little bit damp, like I said earlier. Cover it with burlap. You want it to be dark for them. You want to keep those smells in. With it being buried though, there really shouldn't be any smells. I also don't want them crawling out. And on the top, you want to make some nice size holes. I got some of this screen I put on the bottom of it. I just want to make sure I have airflow. And that's pretty much it for the indoor. And let me explain how this works. So with the 3 buckets, right? The bottom has nothing. It'll collect whatever falls down, liquids, whatnot. Essentially, you're going to have food in the top bucket and sand in both of those. The worms, or core rather, the worms will continue to crawl to where the food is, so you keep food at the top. Once that food is gone, you can now swap the 2 buckets and put more core in the other one and dump out what was in that top one, have worm castings and whatnot. Alright, so you have 2 sides. I'm going to choose this right side. Like I said, where the food is, the worms will be. So we're going to have everything on one side, and we'll just alternate the sides once all the food's gone. I'm going to add more food to this. There's more worms, but I am going to be able to check this. I'm going to try to be able to do it just once every 2 weeks to a month, really. And just make sure they're buried. Alright, putting that burlap back on here. And that's that. Damp, make sure this top's damp. That's pretty much it. Worm castings. Cheaper? You have any questions? Let me know. Let's grow.